Hello and welcome to Blythe Business News. Today I'm joined by Joe Belladonna. Joe is Managing Director of Harena Resources. Who are they? Well, we're going to find out. We'll tell you a bit more about the company and its plans right now. Joe, welcome on the show. Look, give us a quick overview of Harena Resources, please, and tell us about this flagship Ionic clays project you've got at Ampasindava.
Yeah, thanks for having us along, Tim. Look, the Ampasindava project is a large ionic clay rare earths resource. It sits in Madagascar, which is an interesting jurisdiction. It's off the east coast of Africa. French-speaking, local laws are covering the French laws, but with a very much an English style of legal system. The project itself has a large-scale resource. It's JORC classified. There's 698 million tonnes of material there, grading at around 868 parts per million total rare earth oxides. So we think it's a globally significant resource that we can that's already ready to be developed, and it's ready to go.
Okay. Now, I think I'm right in saying Harena is currently a private company.
Correct.
But you're in London because you're going through an RTO, a reverse takeover process, to achieve a listing, a standard listing, on the London Stock Exchange.
Yes.
What's the motivation for doing that?
Yeah, the project itself is actually known in this market via its previous owners. So that was part of the reason that London sort of came to us in a way. The Australian market is very crowded for rare earths. Both the Australian rare earths market plus also the Brazilian rare earths market is very dominant in the Australian market. So when we looked at the London Exchange, there was a dearth of rare earth opportunities, especially in the ionic clay resource space. So it really appealed to us to have an attempt at the reverse takeover of Sidus Resources. In a way, it actually did come to us. Sidus knew of the project. They had their shell in London that they had available, and then the transaction just have developed from there. The other thing, I guess, around the overall location of the project in Madagascar is that it is on Europe's doorstep. So we do see an opportunity to be very much a European-focused supplier of rare earth elements as we move forward as well. So a few things came together for us. There's an opportunity to be the standout ionic clay rare earth supplier. Our markets we do see being potentially back into Europe as well. And then also, obviously the opportunity came to us with the shell, so advanced.
So Joe, I know that Harena prides itself on championing environmental best practice and having a zero impact mining cycle. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, please, and how your mining methods are supporting a low carbon future?
Yeah. That's a really great question. And one of the things that really attracted me to Harena Resources was the style of mineralisation, being ionic clay, plus also the environmentally friendly methods that we plan to use in the mining processes there. So the difference between ionic clays versus some of the other rare earth element deposits that you may have heard of is that the minerals are ionically bonded to the clays, so they're simply washed off of the clays. So there's no crushing, there's no grinding, there's no tails dams or waste dumps left behind in these processes because it's a simple topsoil's pushed back. We're removing the clays, they're free diggings, there's no blasting attached to that. They're trucked to a centralised heap leach pad, which is environmentally ring fenced, so there can be no runoff or spills. From there, we're washing with, we're leaching with initially seawater or salt water. From there, we take a light ammonia sulfate solution, which is effectively garden fertiliser, so there's nothing overly scary there. That then breaks that ionic bond, releases the mineral into the solution, and that's collected and precipitated out into a carbonate product. Now, the great thing about that overall process is it has a pH of 3.5 to 4, so it's not overly acidic. We're not adding a heap of sulfuric acid or any of those other crazy things into this process. From there, that product is taken through a nanofiltration and a reverse osmosis plant. I'm not going to try and tell you how they work, but trust me, they do. Reverse osmosis is basically dewatering the product, and what we get from that is fresh water. That fresh water is then used to neutralise the heat back to it as it was when we mined it. The clays from there are then taken and put back into the cavity where they were mined from. The topsoil is pushed back over and it's ready for rehabilitation. So it is really as if we've not been there. when we're mining these processes.
Tremendous. I'm no scientist, but I believe that it does sound a simple and clean process.
Yeah, exactly. Look, when we look at the other styles of mineralisation, monazite, hard rock, rare earths that we see in a lot of the other markets, they're drilling and blasting. They've got permanent scars in the ground with open pits. There's tails dams, waste dumps. They're grinding, cracking, billion-dollar cracking plants.
And Harena's none of that.
We have none of that.
Okay.
None of that
now,
at all.
Throughout this interview, we've mentioned rare earths quite a lot. For the benefit of the listeners, the viewers, potential investors, who knows, can you give us a quick intro overview of what rare earths are, why they are important, and actually how that is also reflected? Because you've got an offtake agreement, I believe, with a US-based company, United Rare Earths. So why are the rare earths themselves important, and how is that significant for your offtake?
Yeah, definitely. Look, as we're all looking for the low carbon future and how we, environmental best practice around how we're sourcing the minerals that are, driving electric vehicles, storing battery energy, the electrification globally of how we move things, cars, boats, planes, whatever they are. The rare earths themselves, specifically the magnet metals, the things that go into permanent magnets, electric vehicle motors, the wind turbines, the generators that are inside wind turbines have got these heavy rare earth magnets inside them. So they're actually really key to the overall transition, because it's how we're going to generate the electricity with the wind turbines, and it's how we're going to deploy it in the electric motors of the vehicles as well. So the overall basket of rare earths that we're talking about coming out of our deposit is praseodymium, dysprosium, terbium, and neodymium. So they're hard to pronounce, NdPr, DyTb, much more easier to pronounce, but they're the key metals that go into those permanent magnets, and they're what's going to be driving those electric vehicles as we go forward. So as that market expands, the demand for permanent rare earth magnets is going to increase, and that's where we're going to be there ready to deliver.
Okay, and tell us a bit about the offtake agreement.
Yes, so one of the things we're seeing globally around rare earths at the moment is that 95% of supply is coming out of China. Through COVID, where supply and logistic lines were challenged, also where people maybe restrict supply of some of these critical minerals. Other globally, or other, people around the world that have been looking for how they're going to supply their rare earths are now looking at the market and how they can deleverage themselves from China. So someone like United Rare Earths is a US-based group. They're investing already in a hub now to recycle and process downstream of the rare earths. So what they're now looking for is how do we actually feed fresh material into these processes. So geopolitically, the US government, the French government, the German government, the EU Critical Minerals Act in general, everybody's looking for where they can get their materials ex-China. And United Rare Earths seen the opportunity early on and put it's a non-binding term sheet that's agreed between the groups. And that is what we'll be advancing as we move forward with the actual work to bring product to them and actually supply it, because as they know, they can't find this product just anywhere. They need to come to reputable suppliers that are going to get into production quickly.
Okay, Joe, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tim.
That was Joe Belladonna of Harena telling us about the planned listing on the London market, the processes they're employing in Madagascar, and indeed their sales agreements. That's it for this edition of Blythe Business News. Thanks for watching.